Do another commentary done by Diggity. Up right hand corner, we got Rancor starting as the red Zerg. Bottom right hand corner, we got Bayaster starting as the blue Protoss. This is BSL 17 Hasuleague Group C from the round of 16. And unfortunately, this is the only grouping I've got. It is this set, and then I have no idea. I'll have to let you guys know who advances once we get to the round of 8. This is going to be on that map. This one, which you guys should be familiar with, so I shouldn't even... Do I need to name it? I will anyway, Polypoid. Just for my own edification. So Rancor taking game 1 by Bayaster, kind of flubbing the early Dragoon press. And Rancor really having, first of all, the solid economy just to roll him over. It's kind of interesting, actually, with listening to Hawk and some of his discussions. Hawk, high-level American Zerg player. He was discussing that once you start hitting that High Templar and you have those Reavers, you have like the higher level tech for Protoss, and you get the higher level upgrades, oftentimes 2 base Protoss does end up outpacing 3 base Zerg. And so oftentimes a mistake Zerg will make is not grabbing a 4th and trying to maintain pace and keep the upgrades and whatnot. But there is, I really feel like PvZ is one of the more interesting matches. It's the most, it's had the most dynamic changes, I feel like, over the years in comparison to a lot of the other matches. Like TVZ, it's been Medic Marine for absolutely forever with like a little bit of mech mixed in between there. But it really feels like PvZ is always shifting, and there's always something going on in the meta. Bayaster this time going to get first scout into the upper right-hand corner. Spotting pull down after Overlord. Rancor hiding the drone to the corner. Very clever. Noticing that it was on the way to go ahead and sneak it and drop that natural expansion without having to worry about any sort of probe harass. We did have a gateway opener, Zealot about halfway there. That should trigger Rancor to build a few additional Zerglings and maybe consider, yeah, pulling that drone off the line to just tack that probe away. We have a little bit of damage in between. Let's see if this drone comes back to home base, or if it's going to go ahead and move to the 3 o'clock, or sorry, the potentially the 12 o'clock location to grab a 3rd. Right now it looks like it's going to go ahead and pull in the defensive fold in anticipation of a Zealot making its way that direction. Zealot, for whatever reason, is... Okay, so interesting play here. So Bayaster kind of... So a lot of Zerglings built here from Rancor to deal with the initial Zealots. This Zealot pocketing itself in no man's land, hoping that Rancor gets aggressive, and Bayaster hoping that he can... He's dropped the Nexus behind this. He's got to get something out in the way, but he is creating a great amount of distraction. This could have been disastrous for Bayaster. It still might be. But this is going to be interesting. Will Rancor be able to sneak in to the base? These Zealots might want to fold back to that line. That might be a base cancel, or Forge needs to get dropped now. Zerglings pushing in, now surrounding that Zealot. But what this does do is this gives opportunity. Ooh, nice micro there by Bayaster, really negating the Zerglings, and some good micro making the surface area not there. So Rancor ends up, so there's a Zealot with 1 health, beautiful micro from Bayaster, and now a Zealot able to run free into the main. So Rancor running into disaster, that's going to force out additional Zerglings. A lot of his drones to the natural expansion to try to deal with that Zealot that was able to bust into the main, that was pocketed in that right corner. Would have been even better for Bayaster as if that probe at the 3 o'clock location had pushed in and joined this. The Zealot's now marching out, and Bayaster might be able to strike early damage because Rancor, dropping a 4th hatchery in the midst of this, hasn't managed to resaturate at the natural. He's taken a lot of early economic damage, and honestly with these 3 Zealots, might be able to, especially if you can protect that weakened Zealot, looks like he needs to trade that Zealot around, might be able to get some additional damage done. Unfortunately, it looks like that Zealot's going to be the sacrifice, making his way to the north. This is going to force out additional Zerglings. Here's the thing for Bayaster, he didn't need to count on that. He's already so far ahead in the worker count. The Zealot, yeah, just Zealots everywhere right now for Bayaster. He's doing a great job of creating a lot of chaos. No gas, sorry, a gas at 450 for Rancor. That is a very late gas, and we have that assimilator that is already up. We have a cybernetics core finished. If Bayaster drops a Stargate right now and gets those Corsairs out in the field, he will be able to wreak all sorts of havoc on the Overlord count of Rancor, because Rancor is going to have great difficulty producing enough anti-air to compensate right this second. And he's got such a small workforce. So that Stargate dropping now, so he's going to need to, certainly he's going to go back to Hydralisk. The Zealot continuing. Was this that initial Zealot? Yeah, that same 1 health Zealot. Able to create some chaos, now making its way back to the main. Although just pausing right here. Is it going to be able to get additional drone kill? Not able to, but Probe now wandering its way back. So now Rancor needs to hurry up and get some sort of something. So he's got that Hydralisk den building. He's going to need a couple Hydralisks, because with the delayed anti-air, there is potential to harass that Overlord line. We got 1 Overlord pinned. Yep, right. We've got 1 right here. So that's 2 in open field that can get wiped out that I don't know that Rancor can really afford to defend, and Overlord slowly making its way. He's moving in all sorts of Zerglings to the natural expansion, recognizing he's down economically by a large sum. And let's see if, yeah, if you can get all the Overlords in a nice little patch here underneath a couple Hydralisks, he'll be fine. Delaying it to the last second. Zergling's grouping up, and now he's just trying to pour up he's just trying to get as many drones as possible. Another Zealot able to sneak in here. Double creep colonies dropped to try to defend this from Rancor. Going for the overall upgrade. Where is the Corsair? Corsair's just hanging out at the 6 o'clock. So potentially going to miss an opportunity to get there. Evolution Chamber now also dropping on the front. Still no Hydralisks out here. A lot of gas, no Hydralisks. Also creating a delayed layer overall. Now starting to work on that forward. And we're seeing the Gateway Flood from Bayaster. He does have that Citadel of Adun, +1 weapons, Templar Archives, and a good grouping of gas. And this is going to put him, tech-wise, way ahead. Especially if he can sneak some Dark Templar out in the field. Once again, Rancor supply blocking himself as well. He's fallen apart this match. So Rancor in the red. Double Sunken Colonies. He's just going to try to seal up. No Overlords at the main. We have some Hydralisks to go ahead and defend the 2 Overlords there at the natural. Overlord sneaking, just holding in that upper left-hand corner, but it's been some continued supply delays. And I think this was wise on Rancor's part to get the double Sunken Colonies. Right now, Bayaster is so far ahead economically that rather than dedicating, this is what a mistake that I've seen a lot of Protoss players make. They're ahead, they don't need to attack anything, but they do anyway. So we'll see how this works out. It looks like Rancor's defense forces coming in piecemeal and on move command, so they're getting worked out. The drone's pulling off the line to go ahead and attack this. The Zealots actually in sufficient numbers that they're going to be able to obliterate, so ignore what I said, they're going to be able to obliterate both Sunken Colonies and the defense lines. I thought Rancor had a few more troops than this where he's going to be able to clean it up, and that this wasn't necessary, but instead able to get some additional economic delay. Rancor doing at least a good job to protect the drones. Hatchery's not going to die, but that's still all of this. Look at that drone cowering. That Overlord was picked off in the upper left-hand corner on top of it. So additional economic damage. The Zealots, more Zealots sneaking through. Bayaster now sneaking to the 6 o'clock. Yeah, he could have grabbed the 6 o'clock a lot easier, a lot earlier. +1 weapons is online. We have a lot of Storm building up. No Dark Templar out in the field as of yet. You can see I don't think Overlord speed's been upgraded, and it's not going to be there for a while because Rancor a little bit light on gas, and he might be thinking, okay, I need to invest this in Hydralisks before anything else. Lurker Tech's going to be quite a bit delayed, which means those Zealots are going to be all the more effective. They're here in significant numbers, and this is a great engagement point for Bayaster, where those Hydralisks potentially, getting pinned to that right-hand side. So they're going to go ahead and flood back. Another creep colony getting dropped at the mineral only, and this is good play from Bayaster. He's going to move up. What the Zealots can do is they can act as meat shields for these High Templar to go ahead and obliterate. There's just not large enough numbers. There's no Mutalisks to engage the High Templar, which means this is going to be free storms. These storms could easily just pop. All the Zealots have to do is peek forward, absorb a Sunken Colony shot or two, and drop some Psy Storm over the lines. Instead, they're going to sidestorm those Hydralisks, hitting a little bit of the Zealot lines as well. This is what we're talking about right here. So that's dead drones. All 3 Sunken colonies getting obliterated by the huge numbers of Zealots. And right now, Rancor sitting at half and just applying half the supply. Continual pressure. Rancor not able to stabilize. High Templar getting picked off here at the natural. And Zealots still, fortunately, some of them getting separated and having trouble engaging all the way together, and some High Templar morphing between this. Bayaster getting pretty good damage out of it, and right now with that 3rd base coming online, as soon as that's saturated, he's got a pocket of High Templar right here that needs to be careful that he draws back and or has some defense for it. But right now, Bayaster he's just going to be able to overwhelm Rancor, and Rancor really doesn't have a stabilization option. So he's got to go for an attack, try to get lucky here. Maybe if you picked off all those High Templar, that would be a significant swing, but wouldn't be a game-winning swing. More creep colonies being dropped, which Rancor really cannot afford to plop down. If the upgrade advantage wasn't already bad right here, we already got +1 weapons, +1 shield, and +2 armor on the way. Or +1 armor, sorry, I said shield there. Range, but we got a 2nd forge dropping, and I don't even know, it looks like we have a Spire, maybe for a tech switch. Evolution Chamber's there, but it's only +1 weapons, and +2 weapons is not yet queued. High Templar are exposed, so Rancor doing it without the +2 weapons here. More Sidestorm over that edge, and a 3rd Nexus building on the front. It looks like those Hydralisks have been, in fact, cleaned up and wiped out, so Rancor lost some units for Defense Force, and is having to rebuild to maybe go for an attack force. This is greedy on Bayaster's part. He's going for a 4th now. He needs to drop some additional gateways, honestly, to utilize the additional production capacity that he's got right this second. Corsair moving out, that already had 2 kills, going to spot things. Currently at twice the supply. Significant amount of that supply is in workers, however. Dropping some cannons on top of everything else. The Zealot's checking things out, making sure that his opponent's at 2 bases. Since they're not on the forward front, this might be a dead Nexus here, or at least a canceled Nexus at the 3 o'clock. And with the only 6 gateways producing units here, it's going to be a minute, but maybe some Psy Storms will be able to filter things back. The Zealots able to march down before the Hydralisks were able to focus fire that Nexus down. Bayaster is going to let that finish. The units coming in piecemeal. A lot of High Templar are getting picked off as well. Looks like the cannon's going to finish, and that will clean up the units. They're going to run all the way into the main. Interesting play here. Turnaround Psystorm, but a beautiful Psystorm that it was. And honestly, that would have been Rancor's one hope, was getting these units in here, able to pick off, I don't know, pick off some form of tech, maybe pick off some workers. Instead, that Psystorm obliterating the few units that were able to sneak through, which is devastating. Nothing going right for Rancor here. Some Hydral staging top left to maybe try to sneak a base right there. Rancor now going to try to grab that 12 o'clock location. But Bayaster's already sitting on 4 bases, so he's a base ahead of Rancor on 3. The one problem here, now he's starting to add on the gateways, is he really does need to go for that gateway flood. Some cannons morphing in the background. Maybe, yeah, the one way for Rancor to sneak back into this would be doing a quick swap to Mutalisks. If he got a whole bunch of Mutalisks out in the field in a hurry and was able to go for a backstab someplace, that might be able to stabilize things. But there's a bunch of cannons here at the 6 o'clock. There are not a lot of Corsairs, however, but we do have Psystorm. And in the meantime, Bayaster is not relenting, sending the Zealots he has up to that mineral only. And again, able to take out the sunken colonies. And it looks like he might be able to get some additional drones on top of everything else. Few Zealots getting picked off. +2 armor has not yet completed. He's also going to be able to sneak into that 12 o'clock base, find it. Working on it a little bit. But this is also creating delay for all of this to happen. For Baya to just get a massive army. A few Zerglings there camping at the 3 o'clock. Baya actually moving back. Is he just going to turn this into a large... He should just run Rancor over right now. He's at endgame probe count. He should tack on 2 more gateways on top of this. Maybe tack on some... Like, he could just build everything right this second. Now the Mutal's flooding in for Rancor. Finds 2 cannons there. 2 cannons at the natural. This might actually play out for him, though, because there's no Corsairs on the opposite side, nor is there an Archon right now at the natural. So natural expansion hit. High Templar looks like it's going to get picked off. 2 Dragoons spawning, and that's only 6 Mutalisks, and they have 0 upgrades, so able to create a lot of chaos and able to at least kill some High Templar. Another base being dropped bottom left there from Baya. So despite a little bit, he's still at endgame probe worker count here. More cannons getting dropped that Baya can absolutely afford. Archon starting to group up at location, as well as the Dark Archon at the mineral only, so not a lot of options left for Rancor. The 12 o'clock base is up, but Rancor is still sitting at a miserable 33 drones at the 15-minute mark. Mule is able to clean up some Zealots right there, but eventually Baya is going to step on the gas as far as the macro goes, plop down another 2 or 3 gateways, and just be able to roll this. It looks like a Zergling might find bottom left before a cannon is established there. Looks like a Zealot's nearby. The Mutals might be able to take that Nexus out before any Dragoons or Archon are able to make their way that direction. I'm not sure. I honestly was surprised Baya went for this base. I do not understand the logic of it. Single Corsair to defend, that's going to go ahead and get wiped out. Looks like some Zerglings making their way bottom left. Baya is going to cut the difference, however, and look for an attack. Going to find an Overlord here at the 3 o'clock, but it looks like he's going to go for another attack. Maybe to drop some Psystorm over the edge, or might even try to take out that 12 o'clock base in between everything else. So bottom left falls. A little bit of a reprieve there for Rancor. Observer spotting forward. They're not getting picked off. There's not lurkers behind any of this. Rancor wasn't able to, didn't have an opportunity to build lurkers game 1. Doesn't have lurkers here. Some beautiful side storms. There's too many, and with the +2 weapons, the Dragoons will easily outpace Mutals, particularly without any ground defense. And now with an overwhelming of Dragoons, that mineral only certainly going to die. All that will be required is some Zealots to march up and follow things. Rancor in the red, so can't even defend himself. He's going to have to move some Zerglings that were part of that attack bottom left back up, and this is Zerglings outnumbered by Dragoons, plus possible Maelstrom in the midst of this. Not going to be sufficient. Mineral only is gone. Rancor gives the GG, well played, and we'll move on to a final match between these two. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.